The Trezor Safe 3 is a hardware device to help you secure your Bitcoin by keeping the keys to your money safely offline. Today we're going to go through how to set up and use the device on your desktop or laptop computer. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
If you're having trouble with this or any other Bitcoin related topic, you're going through the tutorials and you need an extra helping hand, you can always reach out to me at my website, btcsessions.ca, where you can book me for private one-on-one education sessions. Shout out to sponsors of the show, HodlHodl.com. If you're buying Bitcoin and you have a few priorities in mind that include peer-to-peer trading, instant self-custody, and no KYC, this is a great place to be. You can sign up with just an email address. Once you're in, you choose your currency, your payment method, and an amount, and you can start viewing offers immediately. They also have peer-to-peer lending with no rehypothecation. You can check them out at the link down below. Now, backups are also important. And Cedor has one of the best steel backup systems on the market today. Basically, you get a full kit to stamp your backup to your hardware device in solid steel, which will protect you from the elements, fire, water, corrosion, and it's very, very easy to use. You can check out my video on them, and there are links down below for the best shipping options for you. Now, Nunchuk is a great option when you get into the realm of multisig, a digital vault that requires multiple keys to open. You can set up your entire multisig vault on your mobile device, and you can use various hardware options like Nunchuk, the tap signer, the cold card, and plenty more. Once you're all set up, you also have baked in inheritance planning so that your Bitcoin gets to your next of kin if anything should happen to you. And my favorite thing about it is you don't have to give up your ID or private information to set it up and have it work for you. You can check them out over at nunchuk.io and be sure to check out my tutorial as well. And finally, shout out to sponsors of the show, Start9, your sovereign computing solution. These guys offer plug and play devices to not only host your Bitcoin stack, your Bitcoin software stack, but also your personal data. Things like Bitcoin Core, you can run a Bitcoin node, a Lightning node, mempool.space. You can also host your files, passwords, and photos. You can do things like Nostr relays and clients and even some AI tools, and it will all be hosted on your own personal server and not in the hands of some big tech conglomerate in Silicon Valley. If you want to check them out, they have devices anywhere from entry level all the way up to what I'm running, which is the Start9 Server Pure. You can check them out at start9.com. And if you're looking for that high-end device, you can use code BTC Sessions with a plus sign at the end, and that'll get you 18% off that device. And with that, let's dive into the tutorial. So getting started here, let's get started with your prerequisites. What are you going to need to know in order to successfully navigate this tutorial? Well, first up, you're going to need to know where are you obtaining Bitcoin from, and depending on your locale, that can vary, but that is kind of beyond the scope of this video. So look locally and see what exchanges are available to you. And if you're looking for a source of Bitcoin where you don't have to provide ID, I mentioned HodlHodl in the initial intro to the video. You can check them out as well. Once you're beyond obtaining Bitcoin, there are a few things that are helpful, but not fully necessary to get through this tutorial. If you've already had some experience with just using a regular Bitcoin wallet on your phone, that's helpful. Being familiar with how to back that up, what a seed phrase is, and maybe how to send and receive transactions. Those are all bonuses, but I will try to go through those steps in this tutorial in a simplistic way. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head to trezor.io. Please double check that it is the correct website, trezor.io. Beware if you mistype or if you just Google it, then there's sometimes malicious links that are not the correct software. So go directly to that website, and you're going to want to grab the app. So up at the top, there is one option that says app. It will take you to a new page where you can download Trezor Suite for desktop. You simply download that and then you install it onto your computer. Just as an example, when I hit download, it'll auto know what type of computer I'm on. Just a side note for you, I'm using a Mac at the current time of this video. And so once that downloads, I can simply click on it, and a little bit different in Windows, you got to open up and it'll take you through like an install screen, but on a Mac, it'll look something, and maybe I'll just pull this over. You'll get a pop-up like this, and you simply drag this into applications. I already have it installed, so I'm just going to replace it with the latest update, but then that's it. And so at that point, when I open up my Finder, I should see the application there. So I can close this. I can open up a folder of my applications, and I will have Trezor Suite right there that I can go ahead and open and start using. So you're going to want to get Trezor Suite. And then there's one other bonus that you could get, and that is Sparrow Wallet. I'm going to touch on it later, but you don't have to use the Trezor with their own software after initial setup. You can use it with other applications, and I quite like Sparrow Wallet. So that would be at sparrowwallet.com. Make sure there's 2 W's there. And if you want that, you just head over to download. And then depending on the type of computer that you have, you would download the appropriate one and install it, just as I did with Trezor Suite. So those are your basics that you're going to need to get set up with. The Sparrow Wallet is a bonus. You don't have to do that setup, but I will show you what that looks like as well. So get Trezor Suite, have your device, and then if you have a bit of experience previously using and sending transactions, that's just a cherry on top, but we'll go through that as we go. So let's dive into setting up your Trezor. So really quick, what comes in the box when you get your Trezor Suite 3? Effectively, you've got the device itself right there. The device has 2 buttons and then a screen, and then at the bottom, you've got a USB-C port. There was a sticker on there, which I've actually removed already, but just so you know, it will have a safety sticker on the bottom that you peel off. There's also a USB-C to USB-C cable in the box. And then finally, you get this little package here that has a set of instructions, and more importantly, a sheet for your recovery. And this will be used during setup, and you're basically going to be writing down some English words into it that are a copy of the keys to your money, basically a spare key. In written form. And the inside of that looks like this. You're going to have 12 words that you write down. So that's pretty much everything that you need. And when you open up Trezor Suite on your computer, it will look like this. Effectively, all you're going to be doing is you're going to be plugging in the device to the computer. And as soon as you do, on the device, it will give you some instructions of what to do. It'll say to go to trezor.io/start, but we'll just be walking through directly with the device and the computer here, and we'll go through all of the steps. So let's get started here. All right, so here we are on our main screen, and we've got the Trezor device in front of us plugged in. Just a side note, the flicker that you're seeing on the Trezor is not how it looks in person. It just has to do with the frame rate of the filming versus the refresh rate of the screen on it. In person, it's just like a solid, there's no flicker going on. So such is life when recording. But nonetheless, we are here. We have Trezor Suite open, and we see set up my Trezor over on the bottom right on our desktop. So we're going to click on that. So it says the device is ready for the latest firmware in order to be used safely. For Bitcoin enthusiasts, a Bitcoin only firmware is available. The latest version is Bitcoin only 2.6.4. And so I would, just a side note here, this is the device. I got a special shipment. There was a limited supply of Bitcoin only devices that shipped, and this is one of those. And you can tell by the kind of the backing color of it. But of course, they only did a limited number of these. However, if you are using Bitcoin, or if you're securing Bitcoin, I highly recommend using the Bitcoin only firmware, because as you add support for various different things, with more complexity comes more potential attack vectors. So secure your Bitcoin with something that supports Bitcoin only, or at least has the firmware option to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and, of course, be using the Bitcoin only firmware. If you are a person that is still dabbling in other things, maybe have a secondary device specifically for that, and keep your Bitcoin as something sacred and separate from that, because it is very important you keep it secure. I'm going to be going and installing that firmware. And on the device, it says it's installing the firmware. We'll just wait for that to happen. There's a little circle that will be filled gradually. Okay, we now see it is completed. We can hit continue. So it says, let's check your device. We want to make sure your Trezor is legit. This check is a must-do step to ensure your device's reliability, integrity, and secure use. This confirms that the chip inside your hardware is genuine and from Trezor. And once your device is given a clean bill of health, you're all set to use your Trezor with confidence. So I'm going to hit start here. And on the device, which I will blow up the screen here, it says authenticate device. Do you want to allow the connected to computer to confirm your Trezor Safe 3 is genuine? And we're going to hit the right button for allow. And it's now checking. And now up on my computer screen, it says, congrats. Everything is safe and ready to go. So I can hit continue. All right. So now we'll go to the Trezor once more. And the Trezor says, hello, welcome to Trezor. Press the right button to continue. Use Trezor by clicking the left and right buttons, continue to the right. So you have navigation side to side. It says hold to confirm. Press and hold the right button to approve important operations. So we'll do that now. There we go. Screen scroll. Press the right to scroll down and read all the content when text doesn't fit on one screen. Press left to scroll up. So you get the point, up and down, and we'll hit continue. Okay, confirm. Press both the left and right buttons at the same time to confirm. So we're going to do that now. And then tutorial complete. You're ready to use your Trezor. We'll hit continue. So basically that just took you through all the different functions of combinations of buttons you may hit to do different things. And on the computer, it now says it is complete. We'll hit continue. Okay, so we're either going to create a new wallet or recover one from a backup using your recovery seed. Well, this is the first time using the device, so we're going to be creating a new wallet, but we will do the recovery later in the video. So let's hit create new wallet. So this says, choose how to back up your Trezor. This process will also create a standard wallet for you. So there's two options here: standard seed backup, recover your wallet using a single list of English words, and the advanced Shamir backup, recover the wallet by combining lists of words together. These can be secured in different places for added security. Okay, so effectively, the difference between these two with Shamir, let's say maybe you had 3 lists of words and it requires at least 2 of those to recover your wallet. So you have some play where you could lose one of the lists and still be okay. But for this tutorial, we're just going to use a standard seed backup. But just know that the Shamir backup just gives you more things to take care of, but it also allows you to potentially lose one of them and still be okay. So we'll go standard. And now on the Trezor, it simply says, create wallet. By continuing, you agree to Trezor Company's terms and conditions. I'll hit the arrow. It says you can see more at trezor.io/TOS or terms of service. We'll hit create wallet. Okay, it now says backup needed. And we can see on the computer now, it gives me a thing that says your wallet is almost ready. You successfully set up your Trezor and created your wallet. You should never use your Trezor without backing it up. This is the only way to recover a lost wallet. So again, just to reiterate what's about to happen here, the Trezor just created a key to your money, but you want to create a spare key so that if you lose or destroy the device in any way, you can always recover your money with the spare key. And the spare key will come in the form of a list of English words. So we're going to hit create backup now. It gives you some general best practices here on the screen. It says a recovery seed backup is a series of randomly generated words created by your Trezor. It's important that you write them down and keep them safe, as it is the only way to recover and access your funds. And it expects you to check off these few points. Your recovery seed lets you recover your funds in case Trezor loss or damage. Never take a picture or digital copy of your backup. This is super important. You don't want to take a picture. You don't want to make a digital backup. If you take a picture with your phone, that may be uploaded to the cloud or put other places that you don't want it. And as soon as somebody has those words, it's the equivalent of having the keys to your money, meaning they can move your money without your permission. So do not store it digitally, I say again. Check mark. Last, store your recovery seed, your wallet backup securely, and never share it with anyone. Don't let people take a peek at this. Don't leave it lying around. Again, if somebody gets a copy of this, they can basically access your money and move it as they see fit. So we'll hit check mark there and we'll hit begin backup. All right. Now we're jumping to the Trezor for the rest here. It says, remember, never make a digital copy. Again, it's basically warning you all the things we just said again and again because it is so important. Click both buttons to say, I understand. Okay. Standard backup. Write down all 12 words in order. I'm going to hit show words. Okay. So it shows the first 3 words. In order to scroll, we've got the up and down arrows on either side. I'm going to write all these down on the pre-provided sheet that was in the box. However, side note, it is a good idea to have a steal backup of these words. I mentioned one option off the top of the show, but there are plenty out there. But either way, if you get these in steal, then if there were a fire and your Trezor itself got burned up, well, you still will be able to recover the steal backup and read the words and thus recover your money. So that's why you might want to do that. Anyways, we'll jump ahead as soon as I have written all of these down and proceed. Okay, so all the words are now written on my sheet here. You can see on the device, I've made it down to the bottom of the list. I'll hit the arrow one more time. It says, I wrote down the 12 words in order, hold to confirm. Now, we're going to check the backup. Select the correct word for each position. I'll hit continue. So it says, select the third word. And what I'm going to be doing is, my third word is not today. It's modify. So I'm going to use the arrow to scroll until I see the correct word, and then I'm going to select it with both buttons. And I'm going to do this, I believe, for all of the words. So we'll skip ahead until I'm done that. Actually, I was incorrect. It checks 3 of the words. So please do make sure that you correctly write these down. Maybe give it a scroll before you go into the check here so that you're quite sure of the 12 words you've written down. Anyways, it says success. You've finished verifying your recovery seed. We're going to hit continue. It says backup is done. Keep it safe. Continue. Okay, so here we go. We now have set up the key on our device and done the backup. But what we need to do now is finally add a pin to the device. You don't want anybody just grabbing this device and being able to use it. You want a little layer of security on it so that if somebody gets a hold of it, they can't just access your money immediately. So that's where we're going to do continue to pin here on our screen. It says use a strong pin that protects your Trezor from unauthorized physical access. I'll hit set pin. Okay, now on the Trezor, it is saying, would you like to turn on pin protection? Pin will be required to access this device. I'm going to hit turn on. Now the pin should be 4 to 50 digits long. Position of the cursor will change between entries for enhanced security, and I will show you what that means in a moment. So, by default, it will start randomly in a sequence of 0 through 9. It won't always start on 2. It won't always start on 0 or 1. It will start randomly in the sequence. And that way, if somebody was literally listening into the clicks or saw you pressing buttons, they wouldn't know where you started. So it'd be hard for them to tell what buttons you're selecting. So nonetheless, I'm going to do a simple pin for this example so that just for the purposes of this this tutorial, it's easy. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then I'll hit enter. Now we're going to check the pin, basically put it in again to make sure we entered the one we meant to. So once again, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'll hit enter, processing. All right, success. Pin protection is turned on. So now every time I want to use this device, I'm going to have to put in the pin. I'll hit continue. And now on my computer, it says pin is set. Write down your pin and keep it safe. Use it to unlock your Trezor when you need to access your funds. I will hit continue. Okay, now this is the screen where it says activate coins. However, this device specifically shipped with the Bitcoin only firmware, and that's what I also updated on the device. And for you, this may be different, but again, I would advise to protect your Bitcoin with Bitcoin only firmware. And so I don't need to do anything else here. If you do want to be playing with testnet, you can add that as well. I'm not going to be doing that for this video, but it's just a way to be able to do test Bitcoin transactions that don't have any value so that you can learn the ropes without needing to send actual value. So everything looks good here. I'm not going to do anything complicated with additional settings. I'm just going to hit complete setup. And now setup complete. I can now name my Trezor. What do I want to call it? I'll just call it sessions. And on the device, it just simply asks if I want to confirm that it's called sessions. I'll hit change. There we go. And then it just gives me a nice little, it says sessions on the device when I boot it up. Okay, so everything looks okay. I can, change the home screen with a design or something. So maybe I'll do that. Sure, why not? Okay, so I've got a little design and it says sessions on it as well. Great. So now I'm going to hit Access Suite. We're going to select our wallet type. A standard wallet is there's no additional passphrases or hoops to jump through in order to access your wallet. So basically it is your 12 words are your key. They are full access to your wallet. If you're using the device, then the PIN protects the key. If somebody gets a hold of these words, though, it is full access. The PIN has no bearing on the actual words. So just keep that in mind. Now, the other option here is a hidden wallet. And this allows you to add any string of digits that you see fit. Letters, numbers, symbols, anything. And any combination of numbers or letters or whatever will lead to an entirely new hidden wallet. For example, if I used the password Apple, it would lead to its own wallet. If the next time I typed in apples, plural, with an S at the end, it wouldn't tell me that password was wrong. It would just lead to an entirely different wallet. And further, there's no indication that any wallet has a passphrase attached to it. So an attacker getting a hold of your device, it would basically be they'd have to try every word and every combination of digits to see if there might be a hidden wallet. So it just adds a degree of security. For this one, I'm not going to enter a passphrase. I'm just going to use a standard wallet as the example here. And there we go. So our device is set up, Trezor Suite is set up, and now we can start exploring the app on the computer and then begin to send and receive transactions. So let's get our bearings here in Trezor Suite and just kind of get a lay of the land so you understand what is in front of you. Okay, so right now we're on, we have a navigation panel over on the left-hand side, and we're currently on the dashboard. This is kind of your home. It's where you will see your wallet value, exactly how much Bitcoin you have, and the total aggregate of all of the accounts in a dollar value, plus broken down into the individual assets. Side note, you can have more than a single Bitcoin account. You can have multiple different Bitcoin accounts so that you can segregate for various purposes. Or maybe you've got a relative that you're safeguarding their Bitcoin for them. Or maybe you just have like a saving account for a certain purpose, and maybe you have a general spending account, whatever that may be. So nonetheless, in your portfolio, you have a dollar amount up here. Right now, it's set to Canadian dollars for me. It just kind of defaults to that, but I can change that if I want. I also have a receive button because the first thing you're going to be doing is receiving. They do have a buy button that links to some external sources. Sometimes I find the fees on those can be a little high. Best to check what you have locally available to you, in my opinion anyways. Down below, you're going to have a list of actual accounts. Again, you can create more than one account, but by default, you'll have your Bitcoin account set up if you went through the same process I did. And it will show you the name of the account, which just defaults to Bitcoin, and the number of the account, number one, a balance in your local currency, and a balance in sats. If you're unfamiliar with what sats are, one Bitcoin holds 100 million sats. You can think of it like pennies to a dollar. And if you don't like that denomination, you can click and it will show you full Bitcoin. So, you'll see decimals. If you have a million sats, it'll be 0.01 Bitcoin. But I prefer sats. Sats are the standards. It also shows the current price in your local currency. So I can see it in Canadian dollars here. And then the 7-day change in percentage versus your local currency. If I click on the actual account, it will show me an overview. Again, how many sats I have, how many dollars that's worth in my local currency. I also see a list of previous transactions, though there's nothing there yet. And then I have a receive option. I will also have send and receive up in the top right. And that's more or less what I have there. Now, over on the left-hand side, again, let's go to the activity tab now. This will just show you any new notifications, anything that you've done. It shows my new wallet created, settings changed, basically any activity that has happened in Trezor Suite. And then finally, I can go to settings. This gives us a whole bunch of different stuff. So local language, fiat currency. I tend to look at the US dollar price, so I'm going to change that here. You can also set your default unit to sats or full Bitcoin. Labeling. This allows you to rename your wallets, accounts, and addresses. Labels are applied by syncing with Dropbox or Google Drive. I'm going to turn that off. I don't want to sync anything with a cloud service. Then Tor. This allows you to route all your traffic through the Tor network. It adds to privacy and security. It may take longer to load and initiate a connection. This is never a bad idea. You can also use a VPN on your computer as well if you prefer. Or if you're advanced, you can always connect to your own Bitcoin node. Application, you can change the color scheme. So right now it's dark. This is what light looks like, but this burns my eyes. So let's go back to dark. Address display, display address continuous or spaced. Usage data. This is all data is kept strictly anonymous. We only use it to improve. So you can turn data on and off. I'm going to leave it off by default. I'm glad that is off by default. Again, this is applications logs. That's a little bit more advanced. App storage, resetting the app restores it to default settings. So you can always do that, and we'll test that out later. And then you can also check for updates. So it says I'm currently running version 24.2.4. I can check for updates and see if there are new ones, but we did just download it. So it lets me know there's no new updates up top. And then experimental features. That's just, you can get access to early new things, but they may not work perfectly. Other than that, bottom left, you also have a toggle switch for Tor. And then just as an example, there's also this little eyeball here. You can click that. It will hide the balances so that if you're just kind of in here doing a transaction and somebody's nearby, you don't need to show off your balances. If you hover over them, they will be visible. Okay. And more or less, that is your lay of the land. Last thing up top, you can click on up on the left-hand side where it says it shows the device and says sessions standard wallet. If I click on that, it shows me some information about the device. I can go into settings again. We previously looked at just the application settings, but there are settings for the device. You can look at your backup. You can check your backup. This is always a good idea where you can re-put in your 12 words in order. You can, again, check the firmware, and if it's up to date, it usually gives you a little notification if it's not up to date. You can also disable the PIN. You can change your PIN as long as you know the old one. You can add a custom passphrase or allow that to be shown on the main screen. General safety checks, check the device, change the device name. You can upload images for the background of your device or choose from the gallery that they already have. This is your lockout time. So after 10 minutes of inactivity, you'll need to add your PIN once again. And then finally down here, factory reset, wipe the setup to wipe the code. It allows you to install custom firmware, turn off the device check, all of that stuff. And this is aptly named the danger area. You probably don't want to be messing around here necessarily. And then finally, in the top right, coins. Of course, this is a Bitcoin only device, but if you want to turn on testnet later on, this is where you would do it. And there we go. We've been through the paces. That's everything you may need to know. The last thing I'll note is down in the bottom right, you can sync and track your phone with your Trezor suite, which would allow you to see your balance and I believe add to your balance, but not spend. So at least you have visibility into your wallet without access on your mobile device. And with that, I think we're ready to start doing some transactions. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do with your Trezor once it's fully set up is you're going to want to be able to receive Bitcoin into it. So once you're all set up and logged in from your dashboard, there is a receive button in the top right. Or if you have more than one account, which we'll discuss how that works later, you will click on the specific account and then hit receive. So when I hit receive, it shows me a fresh address from my device, a receiving address. In order to see the full address, I'm going to hit show full address. And it says, follow the instructions on my Trezor screen, which I will blow up so that you can see exactly what's going on. And let's get a little zoom in there. There we go. Okay, so this is an example. It's been more than 10 minutes, so it asked me to put in my PIN. So I'll do that right now. 1, enter. All right, PIN is verified. And now it says receive address, and it shows me it here on my Trezor. It also shows me it on my desktop at this point. So I'm looking and I can see that it's correct. If I hit confirm, it does it shows that the receive address is confirmed on the computer, at which point I can click on copy address or I can use the QR code. So both of these are Bitcoin addresses that you can receive to. If you copy this string of digits and send it to anyone, or if you're on an exchange and you're hitting withdraw and it says, what is your receive address? That is the information you're looking for. If you're on an exchange or you're receiving somebody from receiving a transaction from somebody and they're present and they have a wallet on their phone, they can simply scan this QR code. So I'm going to do precisely that. I've got a balance on an exchange on my phone here. So I will, I'll transition so you can see. But this is just a local exchange in Canada called ShakePay. This is in Canadian dollars. So remember, I updated my app to be US dollars, so it'll show differently. But nonetheless, I see a withdraw option here. I'm going to hit withdraw. And then it gives me contacts and everything. But up in the top right, there's an option to scan, or it does give me an option to paste in a Bitcoin address. So if I had been texted that Bitcoin address from Trezor Suite, I could paste that in and that would be all that I need. But for this example, I'm going to hit the scan button and that will open up my camera. So I need to now scan what is on the computer screen. So I'll do that. and it copies the Bitcoin address. And it says it finishes with KCDU. It shows me that on my screen here. So I'm going to check the last few digits on my receive address on the computer. That looks good to me. And so now on my phone, I can finish what I need to do. So I'm going to send out the max amount. That may be different for you, but I'm going to send the max amount out of this wallet. I'm going to hit continue. And then I can add a note for my own personal use for later on. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to hit confirm. And there it's sending me an email to confirm. And once I click on that and say that, yes, this was me, it will be sent out to my wallet on my Trezor. And here's my confirmation email. I'm just going to hit confirm. And there we go. So some exchanges, they will batch transactions, meaning that they will send out a whole bunch of transactions all at once every set amount of time. So depending on your exchange, it may take a little bit to arrive. That's okay. Just look at how your exchange operates. And then eventually you should get a notification in Trezor Suite saying that you have received a transaction. Back in Trezor Suite, I'm just going to hit the X here so that I can see my balance once it comes in. And I will note that once you're back into kind of your main screen of that particular account, if you do want to do a refresh, you can always go view and then force reload, and it will kind of reload everything. Again, you can just enter into your standard wallet and it will check for, and there we go. I see that incoming transaction is now there. So I'm currently on the dashboard here. It shows a balance. Remember, it was Canadian dollars that I was sending out. So that's the reason for the discrepancy there. This is in US dollars. But nonetheless, it shows I now have a balance. If I scroll down, that particular account now shows as having 118 US dollars or 168,000 sats. I can click on that account and it will show my previous transactions down below. It says it's pending, and that means Bitcoin transactions take on average around 10 minutes to be fully settled. And so this transaction in about 10 minutes, that pending notification will no longer be there. But either way, I have successfully received a transaction. So now that we have a balance in our Trezor Suite, the next thing to learn how to do is how to send or spend from our wallet utilizing our Trezor. So in order to do this, let's recenter ourselves back on the dashboard here. So you're in your main dashboard. You have a couple of different options of how to get to your accounts. You can see default accounts over on the left. I could click here or underneath where it says assets. Either one will take me to the same place. And so here, I now am in my main account and I have a send and receive button. So I'm going to hit the send button. And this is our main send screen. There's a number of different things available to you here, but the main things that you want to pay attention to, especially as a beginner, is the send screen, the to address, the amount that you're sending, and then the fee, which is down at the bottom. There's some additional functionality in the middle here, which I'll touch on, but we won't be focusing too much on it. So with the address, you're going to need to specify where do you want to send this to. And so that can take the form of pasting a Bitcoin address, or if you hover, there's a little scan button here, which will open up your camera so you can scan a QR code. For instance, if you have your phone and you're sending it to something that you have on there. So just as an example, I'm going to open up, this is Sparrow Wallet here, and it's a tutorial wallet that I use often. And just to show what it looks like to get a receive address, there's one right here, which I will simply copy. And I may have received this from an email or a message or something like that. Regardless, I've got an address and I would simply paste that in here in the send field. Alternatively, I'll just get that out there. I'm going to open up a wallet on my phone and hit receive. and I have a QR code ready. So I'll hit the scan button, and there we go. I can simply hold that up and it will pull in the address that was on my phone. And that's indeed the one that I'm going to use for this example here. And now I get to specify how much I want to send. You can send it in whatever your designated denomination is, sats or full Bitcoin. But example, I can type in a certain amount here. Alternatively, I can specify a dollar amount and it will automatically interpret how much Bitcoin I need to send. Or as I'm going to do right now, I can hit send max and that will fill the entire amount. Now, the other thing that you want to consider is how quickly do you want this transaction to go through? Down below, you see low, economy, normal, high, and custom. And this allows you to set your fee as you see fit. The fees do not have anything to do with the amount you're sending. What they have to do with is a couple of things. Number one, how busy is the Bitcoin network? Number two, how much data does your transaction require, as in bits and bytes? How much data is your transaction? And then finally, how quickly do you want it to go through? So you, at the end of the day, you could choose low and it may go through eventually. It says it might take about 17 hours because there's a lot of people in line right now. And I look at that and that seems quite low to me. You can do economy, which is cheap, and it might go through in about 3 hours. Again, seems a little bit low to me based on what fees have been recently. 26 sats per byte is about an hour, or in about 10 minutes, you can choose 31 sats per byte. And so again, this is based on the amount of data. So you're spending 31 sats, of which there are 100 million in a single Bitcoin, per byte of data that your transaction is required, which is 122, I can see. And so that would equate to around 37 or 3,800 sats, which is around $2.70. So it's important to know that when you're dealing with values going into and out of your hardware device here and using regular Bitcoin transactions, this is primarily going to be a mechanism through which you're putting in long-term savings in slightly larger chunks. If you're dealing with coffee transactions and small purchases of a few dollars here and there, you're going to be using something called the Lightning Network. I recommend a wallet called Phoenix, which is actually the one I just scanned the QR code from, and I'll include a link to that tutorial down below. Nonetheless, I'm going to leave this fee on high, and so I'm pretty much set here. I have an address, an amount, and my fee is set. Now, this extra stuff in the middle here is bonus. You don't necessarily need to know what all of this stuff is, but I'll quickly go through. Lock time means once the transaction goes through, is the Bitcoin going to be locked up for a period of time? I typically never touch this because, you know, if you mistype something, it may be sitting there indefinitely, right? If you add a zero or something, it might be sitting there 100 years. I don't like to mess with lock time, but you can if you prefer. RBF, this is replace by fee, and this allows you to bump the fee on your transaction up if it's been sitting for a while. You can just go in and check it out and bump your fee if you see fit. And then broadcast. This means as soon as you review it and approve it on the Trezor, it will automatically send it to the Bitcoin network. If you turn this off, then it will ask you one more time to double check what you've done and then hit a broadcast button to officially send. And then finally, coin control. Without getting too deep into this, Bitcoin is a lot like cash in that if you receive $50 and then $20 and $100 in separate transactions, those amounts sit as, maybe we'll refer to them as individual coins or bills in your wallet, much like physical cash. So you can look into your wallet and actually see the coins sitting there. Coin control allows you to select which coins you want to spend, which may be beneficial for privacy. Nonetheless, I'm not going to use any of those. And then finally, you can add a recipient. You can send to more than one person at a time and designate how much each person gets. And that is something that can help you be more efficient and lower your fees if you're transacting a lot. Nonetheless, everything I've done here looks all good to me. I'm going to hit review and send. Now at this point, of course, my Trezor has timed out, so I need to put in the PIN, and then we'll go forward with the transaction. Okay, so I'm seeing two things simultaneously, and I'll show both. But on your desktop, you'll see, does the recipient address match? And it shows me an address, an amount sent, and all of that. So on my device, I need to verify. So I can see on the Trezor, I tend to eyeball the first few digits and the last few digits, and I can see that it lines up with what I'm seeing on my computer screen, so I can hit continue. Now it's confirming the total amount, and on my computer, again, it brings up a screen that shows the corresponding amount. That looks good to me. So once again, I can hit confirm, and then it says total amount being sent, including the fee. It is showing all of that same as it was on the screen before. So in order to confirm, I hit both buttons at the same time. And I can see an update on my computer now that says, okay, this is what you're doing. You're sending this to this address in this amount with the following fee, which I can scroll down to see. Does that look good? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit send. And off it goes. I can see my balance is now updated to 0. And if I scroll down, I can see my previous incoming transaction, and at the top, the most recent transaction that is pending, aka it is not fully settled yet. And if you notice, because we had RBF turned on, there's a little button that says bump fee. So if this was taking a long time, I could click that button, adjust the fee, and then I would be required to approve it with my Trezor, as I just did now. So what happens if you happen to break or lose your device? How do you get access to your funds? Well, we're going to do exactly that now. We're going to go through, we're going to wipe everything. We're going to wipe the device. We're going to wipe our Trezor suite, all of that. And then we're going to do a full recovery. So the way that you wipe your device is you go to the top here on the computer where it says the name of your device. You can click and we'll go to the settings wheel there. That will take us to our device settings. You could have alternatively clicked on settings on the side and then clicked on device. So here we are. We're going to scroll down a little bit to the danger area, and we're going to do a factory reset. So I'm going to click on that, and this will, as it warns you, I understand this action deletes all data on the device. I understand I must have a backup of my recovery seed in order to retain access to my funds, which I do indeed have. So I'm going to click both of those, and then I'm going to hit the red factory reset button. Now on my actual device, it will have me confirm this action. So it says, hey, wipe device. Do you really want to wipe the device? I will hit the arrow. It says all data will be erased. Hold to confirm. So I'll hold. All right, there we go. And so everything is now wiped. And on the computer, I can see, hey, here's your Trezor suite, device detected in incorrect state, disconnect your Trezor because it's been wiped. So I'm going to disconnect it. And now we'll reconnect it and see what happens. So we plug in. And it's as if the device has never been used. Full factory reset. Okay, so it says, have you used this Trezor before? Firmware is already installed on the connected Trezor. Only continue with setup if you have used this Trezor before, which I have. If you have a new one, if you're replacing it, you would say, set up my Trezor, like the new one, or no, I haven't. So you would be setting up from scratch, but at some point this will roll over and be the exact same sequence that I'm doing. But I have used this Trezor before. I'll say yes, set it up. It says firmware has Bitcoin only installed. I'm going to say continue. If this was a new device, you would be installing the new firmware just like we did the first time. And then it says, let's check your device. They're checking it for authenticity just like last time. I'm going to confirm that on the Trezor just like last time. I'm allowing it. And it says your Trezor is good to go. I'll hit continue. And then it's going to walk me through a similar walkthrough. Welcome to Trezor, right? We'll just go through all of these menus. I'll hold to confirm. It's showing me all of the, basically the same tutorial we went to. I'll confirm and tutorial complete just as before. We'll hit continue on our Trezor suite. Now this is where we recover rather than creating a new wallet. So I'm going to hit recover wallet. I'm going to hit start recovery. And then that takes me to my Trezor itself, which says recover wallet. By continuing, you agree to the Trezor company's terms and conditions. I'll hit recover wallet. Now this time it says select the number of words in your backup, 12, 18, 20, or 24 or more, 33. We had 12 words, so I'm going to go to 12 and select it with both buttons. Now it says enter your backup 12 words. You'll have to select the first 2 to 4 letters of each word. Position of the cursor will change between entries for enhanced security. Continue. So this is going to start me at a random spot in the alphabet, and then using my list here, I'm going to go through. So I'll do the first word and then we'll jump ahead to where I'm done. So the first word is brick. So I'm going to look for the B and then select it with both buttons. And then we'll keep going through R, I, and then you can see at a certain point, it can only be certain words. So I'm going to now look for brick in this list. There it is. And I will select it. And then it bumps me on to my next word. So we're going to go through all 12 words and we'll be back momentarily. Upon completing the 12th word, it says success. Wallet recovered successfully. Hit continue. Now we will need to set a PIN on the computer. It says recovery complete. Hit continue and set a PIN. So just as we did before, it's going to ask me on the Trezor if I want to set up a PIN. I'll hit the arrow and I'll say turn on. PIN should be 4 to 50 digits long. Continue. And I'm going to set up the same PIN as I did last time with the same sequence. Success, PIN protection turned on, and I hit continue. And on the computer, PIN is set. Continue there. Just like last time, it asked my preferences. I'll hit complete setup. That all looks good. And then I'll hit access suite. We'll do the standard wallet as we did before. And lo and behold, we see the exact same account. And the reason I know this is we can click on the account itself and we can see our transaction history where we received and sent Bitcoin. If there were funds in this account, they would be fully accessible via Trezor Suite at this moment. So that is your full recovery with a new or used device if it gets wiped accidentally by simply using your 12-word seed phrase. Now, you are not pigeonholed into only using Trezor Suite after your initial setup. You can choose to use other software alongside your Trezor. One such example of this would be Sparrow Wallet for desktop. And this is my go-to desktop wallet because I love a lot of the features that are baked into it. And so how would you go about accessing your Trezor from Sparrow Wallet? I'm going to start from scratch here. I'm going to unplug my device. It is set up. So again, you would set it up with Trezor Suite, but I'm going to create a new wallet here in Sparrow using the Trezor. So I'll plug it in as if I had just done it. Okay. Now it says click to connect. Now I'm going to enter my PIN on the device just by clicking one of the buttons. So it is unlocked. I'll enter it in here. All right, so the Trezor is now unlocked. How do I gain access to the account here in Sparrow? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say File, New Wallet. I'll give it a name. I'll call it TS3. So Trezor Safe 3. And I'm going to hit the blue Create Wallet button. By the way, side note, in Sparrow Wallet, when in doubt, hit the blue button. It will likely take you where you want to go. Now, this takes you to a little bit of a scary looking screen. You don't need to know everything that's going on here. All you need to know is that you have a connected hardware wallet, and you're going to click that button. I'm going to hit the blue Scan button. Now, when you do connect to Sparrow, it may give you an error when scanning, and that's because your device is asking if you want to enter a passphrase. Because you're not using Trezor Suite, it doesn't prompt you the same way. So all I'm going to do, I'm not going to enter anything. So there's no text actually entered here. I'm just going to hit enter with a blank passphrase. I'll confirm with both. And so at that point, I should be okay. And you can see the arrow message here. I'm going to hit scan again. It says, there we go. I can now see the Trezor Safe 3 up top. I'm going to hit the blue import key store button. So this just imports enough information so that I can see my balance and add to my balance. That fills in a bunch of information down here. Again, I don't need to be privy to the technicals of it. I'm just going to hit the blue apply button. And then it asks if I want a password. And the password would simply protect this piece of software. So if I was worried about somebody getting on my computer and just seeing my balance, then I might add one here. But it doesn't have to do anything with the security of my funds. They would still need the Trezor and the PIN to the Trezor in order to access anything. So I'm going to say no password for now. At this point, the entire left-hand side of Sparrow Wallet goes blue, and it is now scanning for any previous transactions. We're going to leave the settings screen. You likely won't be back here very often. We're going to go up to transactions on the top left, and there we go. We can see our 2 previous transactions here. Once again, if there was any funds allocated to the wallet, they would be present here. And I have my send and my receive screen accessible to me, along with all of the advanced features that Sparrow Wallet has to offer. So that is how you can use your Trezor with different software. So some final thoughts here when it comes to the Trezor Safe 3, which again is an iteration of prior models of the Trezor. So overall, I find this to be a pretty easy device to use. Their Trezor Suite software is, pretty clean and simple to navigate, and it kind of handholds you through the setup process. And once it's there, send and receive screens, pretty intuitive, and it works quite well. The addition for this device that I think is the most important, that sets it apart from previous iterations, is the introduction of something called a secure element. That is a chip that is segregated from the rest of the internals on the device, and that chip houses the keys to your money. In previous versions of the Trezor, they did not have a secure element, and what this meant is that unless you had a passphrase added on top of your 12 words, somebody with physical access to the device and the know-how to do this could extract the keys to your money from the physical device. It couldn't be done remotely or anything, but again, with access to the device, it could be done. With the Trezor Safe 3, that is no longer so, because they've introduced a secure element. And so for me, if I'm going to be using a Trezor, I'm going to be gravitating towards this one as opposed to previous models, even though their Trezor Model T has the touchscreen and everything, and that's all nice and great, but it does not have the secure element. So I would defer to this one first. Buttons work great. Connecting was no issue, and I find the menus to be relatively straightforward. In terms of the Trezor Suite, again, I think that works really well. The one thing that I would like to see, and I'm not sure exactly how best this would work, and I'll leave that up to people that are dealing with user interfaces and design, but other devices on the market allow you to set up and update the firmware without ever having to use a proprietary app made by the same company. And I've not seen an easy way, or I'm not privy to an easy way that you can do this with the Trezor. And what I mean by easy way is not like a complicated, oh, I'm going to go into command line or do some complex way of doing it. It's no, like if I can just get power to the device and also be able to, drop in a new firmware and allow it to update, that would be great if there was a way to be able to do that. Something that's accessible to the average person if they see fit to do so. So that's one thing where you're kind of roped into having to use Trezor Suite, at least for your initial setup and for your firmware upgrades whenever they come along. Of course, after that, it's really nice that you can migrate to other software if you see fit. We did the example of Sparrow Wallet on the computer. And then the last thing that I quite like about Trezor is that it allows for Bitcoin only firmware. In particular, I actually like that this device shipped directly with it and never touched the altcoin enabled firmware. I prefer devices like that are Bitcoin only from the get-go, again, just from a security perspective. It's nice that it allows you to upgrade though and change your firmware if you do get a default device anyways. So that's really nice. I would love for them to do another run of these Bitcoin only options. I think I know they sold out of them, so maybe somebody watching this will decide it's time for another one and just like switch up the color or something, play around with it. Anyways, I thought it was a cool idea. I also hope that they integrate the secure element with future iterations of their other models as well. Either way, all around, I think Trezor is a pretty good device, and the addition of that secure element takes away one of my major qualms with previous versions and makes it so that this device I consider to be a pretty solid option in the realm of securing your Bitcoin. Let me know what you thought about the video, any things that you liked, any things that you didn't, what you would like to see from Trezor in the future. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do like, subscribe, share. All these things are super helpful getting this content in front of more eyeballs. If you want to help the show in another way, you can of course hit up all the previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes down below. And if you're having any difficulty trying to navigate this topic or any other Bitcoin related topic, you can reach out to me at my website, btcsessions.ca, and book me for private one-on-one education sessions. With that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. See you guys next time for your daily session.
HodlHodl Bitcoin.